Hi, this is Todd Malicote, the SEO faculty for Market Motive and online marketing consultant at stuntdouble.com, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Google Panda update. We're going to look a little bit at what the Panda update is, what it did, what it involved, and who lost out on the traffic by the Panda update. We'll take a look at how to tell if you are one of the people who lost out in the Panda update, what Google suggests to fix it, and how we suggest that you fix problems associated with the Panda update. So first off, what is the Panda update? Well, it was a major algorithm update that affected around 12% of sites according to Google, and it was intended to crack down on content farms. Content farm is a site with thin content, a publishing site, and a lot of advertisement most times. So it was intended to target this thin content, and it was based on a lot of different things, including human quality indicators. So they had real people look at these sites and say, okay, what indicators go into making a quality site? And if this site or page doesn't meet these goals, we're gonna incur this penalty or this update, this filter to that website. So what the Panda update actually did was decrease the traffic to the sites that had low content pages, or just a little bit of content that had a lot of ads, and their content to ad ratio was too high, or their ad to content ratio was too high. It penalized sites or reduced the traffic of sites that aggregated or had too much auto-generated content. It looked at sites that had articles that were redundant. Maybe they wrote around just the keywords and wrote repeated articles. Best payday loans, payday loans for sale, and they sites that just wrote the same content over and over in just a little bit different way, but were kind of redundant that way, or sites that had too many affiliate links. These were all the types of sites that were targeted in this update. And of course, there's some collateral damage, and you're probably here because you may have been a part of that. So we're going to look at how to fix that and how to send better signals of quality to Google. So it involved, what the Panda update actually did was started using user validation a little bit more. They used their quality raters that they have around the world. There's user quality, search quality guidelines. So if you do a search for search quality guidelines, there's a document that outlines what the quality raters actually look at in terms of content quality or quality content for a site. So this update actually improved their content analysis filters, and it was based on the insights of these quality raters. It's also based on the social, or on the validation that they get from social signals, things like Google Plus, the toolbar data that comes from the Google toolbar, the Chrome browser data that they get from Chrome. And essentially, it was all this user validation, or this user data that validated link metrics and other on-site metrics. And so it used to be that you could just have a site that was subpar, send a lot of links to it, and get that page to rank. Now you need that validation, that user data validation that says, hey, people have been sharing this. People have been looking at it, and we know that from our toolbar and from our browser and from those metrics. We know that people are coming to the site and not clicking back. They actually like what they're looking at. So these are the types of things that the update included into the new algorithm. It's almost like a Panda score. Every site gets a score that says, hey, this is the score, and if you don't meet these thresholds, then your site's not going to rank as well. So we want to look at improving that quality indicator score, or that Panda score. And so who lost out in the update? There's actually a really great list immediately after this update in February. It was also called the Farmer update because it was based at content, or based around or aimed at content farms. But right after the update came out, Systrix release this data of who actually lost. So we could get a pretty good example of sites that were thin on content, that were meeting all these criteria and just kind of riding their link authority and getting rankings and traffic and AdSense and revenue, AdSense revenue and other advertising revenue from this low quality content because people were just coming in, clicking on an ad, and leaving. So we want to look at how to make our sites better, and the way to tell it, or the way to tell that we'll look at in just a minute. But from these sites, we get a good example of what not to do. You can see who lost out big. A lot of them were just fairly thin content sites. They were big sites with lots of content, but it wasn't great content. It was a little bit subpar. So we need to work on making great content that's really going to stick people to it, or that people are going to stick to, that is going to take them 5 minutes to read and they're going to be engaged that whole time. What this really did was made it even more important to improve the user engagement on your website. So how do we tell if you were affected by the update? This is courtesy of WordTracker. They have a great article at the below URL. I have some resources at the end that I used for creating this PowerPoint. But you can see if you do a search between February and March on Google Analytics, you set up a couple filters for non-paid organic search results in the United States, and you see a great big dip. You probably incurred the wrath of Panda and need to look at ways to make your site better so you can recoup that traffic. So what does Google suggest? Well, Google's always kind of suggested just make quality content and we'll find it. Unfortunately, that doesn't quite cut the mustard, and we need to go a little bit further than that. But what they suggest is that you have a site that passes human inspection, that's not ad heavy, that you have some inbound links, that the quality of the content is unique, and that you have a lower bounce rate, and again, like I mentioned, increasing user engagement and having traffic channels outside of Google to again validate that you actually deserve those rankings. So what do we suggest? You're probably sitting through this video going, okay, just tell me what to do to fix it. Unfortunately, there's not an easy fix here. This is one of those things that we've been harping on as SEOs for a long time, to create quality content, get it well linked, make it accessible, and you're doing those things, but when you're just doing them kind of half-heartedly and creating content articles just for the sake of creating content articles and having spider food rather than people food, content that people are actually going to read, that's where you start to run into the issues. So what do we suggest? We have a laundry list of suggestions here. First, we're going to start anything you can do to increase your page level engagement metrics. That means keeping people on your site longer. How do we do that? Well, we do that by beefing up our very thin content. We do it by adding great research to our documents, by adding external resources, by adding videos, all these types of things. We also do it at the domain level by increasing our what I'd call the quality ratio of, if we have 100 pages on the site, or let's say we have 1,000 pages on the site, and 100 of those 1,000 pages are very good quality and the other 900 are just so-so, a lot of thin content, a lot of affiliate links, a lot of duplicate pages. We want to reduce that site bloat. We want to just have those 100 pages indexed instead of all 1,000. We don't want to let Google figure out what's good and what's bad and lower our Panda score or our quality ratio score. We want to make sure we're reducing that site bloat with our own methods, and we do that with meta robots, no index. You can check out the video on duplicate content, and there's lots of information on how to do all this sort of thing. But you want to block some of that garbage content. We sometimes call them French fry pages because there's no nutritional value, and they're just add-ons, they're just extras, they're pages that don't need to be indexed on your website. And so we block those with robots.txt. With the meta robots no indexed, we can use rel canonical to fix those duplicate content issues. Some sites have lots and lots of internal links. You might have 500 internal links on a page. If you can get that down, this sometimes helps to increase that Panda score, that quality ratio. Getting a second click this is back to improving the page level metrics, but it will lower your bounce rate. So if you have people coming into your site and they see a big red button and they click on it to get that second click, at least you're going to have them there a little bit longer. Your bounce rate's going to go down a little bit. So make sure you have that very pointed call to action, that big red blinking button that people can click on so that they don't click back to the search results. The last thing you want to do is have somebody click on your search result, come to your site, and then click back. That is the number one sin of getting hit by Panda. If you have that high bounce rate, those pages are going to tank. So another thing you can do is look at your Google Analytics, find the pages with high bounce rates in that range, in that date range, and find a way to reduce that bounce rate. Find a way to be more relevant to the user that comes in, and make sure to get that second click because it's going to improve your user engagement. Another suggestion has been to remove pagination. If you have articles that have next, 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 there has been a tag created for this type of pagination issue. If you search for rel page, I believe, you'll find some information on that. But in the meantime, it's best to just have everything on one page. Unless you're really trying to suck every last dime out of people clicking on your ads, there's no good reason for pagination. It's poor usability most of the time. So just try to avoid that wherever possible. Improve your meta tags so that your calls to action in the search results get better click-through rates. If you're coming up in the search results and somebody sees your result and they're not clicking through on it, the more times that happens, the lower your score gets. So by having good calls to action that entice people and incentivize people to click through on your site and then deliver on your promise, people are going to stay there longer, they're going to click through, and that's what, again, user engagement. So the number of advertisements is now an issue. So if you have AdSense slathered all over your site and only 10% of your site is actual content and the rest is advertisements and aggregated content, you got hit hard by Panda, and you need to remedy this issue by not serving those ads all the time. You need to serve less ads and increase or improve that ratio of content to advertisement. Google basically says if it's over half the page as advertisement, then it's probably not a quality page. It's probably designed just to get people to click on ads. Finally, some good old-fashioned link development. Sending in links to the pages that got hit or to the site as a whole is always going to do good for the site. That's nothing new. But encouraging and incentivizing social media shares. Google's saying, okay, there's traffic sources outside of us. Well, we want some validation that this site gets traffic outside of just our search results. We don't want people who are only dependent on search traffic. We want people who are getting shared on Facebook. People are talking about them on Twitter. We want sites and pages that have mentions elsewhere, and getting those mentions is really going to help on a page level and on a domain level as a whole to improve your quality score or improve your quality ratio score or your Panda score, whatever you want to call it, to improve the score of user engagement so that you actually retain those rankings and are not kind of kicked out of the listings for the phrases that you aren't relevant. So I went through a whole bunch of resources to come up with this presentation. They're all listed here. You can check them out. There's so much information available on Panda, but we have to improve our user engagement. And that's what we try to do, is understand analytics and how to pull this data, understand bounce rate and how to improve it through better conversion and calls to action. And all of these disciplines tie in to making your site better and getting you better rankings. There isn't a quick and easy fix, unfortunately. You can't just lose 70% of your traffic with the algorithm update and think that it's just going to be okay and you can just change a couple things. These algorithm updates take a long time for Google to put in place, and they can hit pretty hard. When you lose 70% of your traffic, you have to be prepared with some other backup source and some way to fix it. So we looked at what the Panda update is, what it did, what it involved, who it lost, who lost, hopefully not you. If you did, you have some ideas and suggestions for how to fix your site and improve that user engagement and get that traffic back. If you have questions, they're always welcome in the forum, and I thank you very much for joining me in the wonderful foray into the Google Panda update.